This is Talk. Welcome back. 10:36 is the time. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. Still getting your calls coming in thick and fast on the two biggest issues of the day. One, of course, is the failure of the one-in, one-out migrant returns deal, and, of course, also the ongoing, toxic culture of the public inquiry into grooming gangs. Let's talk specifically about, first up, the migrant returns deal with my next guest. Alex Wilson is a London Assembly member for Reform UK and joins us now. Good morning to you, Alex.
Good morning, Julia. Great to be with you again.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, I just don't even know where we start. The one-in, one-out deal. I mean, well, not only have we had barely anyone be out and then a load of people come in, one for one, but we've also had thousands and thousands more arrivals on top of that, and of course all the family members of those. We've seen the number of people arriving in this country as illegal migrants on those boats, and that's just the boats, that's just the people we know about. In the whole, in this year, just to this point, mid-October, has now topped the number for the whole of 2024, which was 36,816 people. We know the Home Office is saying it's not fit for purpose, absolute chaos, and now we've had a bloke who's been, an Iranian guy, sent back to France, flown back at taxpayers' expense on an Air France jet back to France, and now he's just got on another boat, paid the migrants, and come back here and been caught again. What do you make of it?
Well, as you say, where to start? I think the best place to start is actually picking up from the discussion you were just having with Benedict, that the government would wish that we just stopped talking about this and it would go away and then people wouldn't be aware of it going on. But it's great that channels like yours are talking about it, and indeed your last caller as well. You can sense the frustration that domestic British people, taxpayers, hardworking people seem to be at the back of the queue for everything and are paying for this while the floodgates are still open, the borders are out of control, and we have these thousands upon thousands of undocumented migrants coming across on the boats. Almost 37,000 now this year alone, topping what happened last year, and there's still over 2 months to go. So it'll be another record year. And even since this one-in, one-out deal has started at the beginning of August, 11,000 plus have come in, and I think 42 have been sent back. Make that 41 now, because obviously this chap from originally from Iran has now returned in a dinghy, and the whole process starts all over again with him, and there'll be legal challenges. He's claiming all sorts of things about how he feels unsafe, so no doubt the lawyers will get involved and the government will really struggle to even get him back before we even start to
and even if they do, what's to stop him going? Apparently, we're all going to be really, really shocked by this. Apparently, he decided he was being held in an immigration detention centre in France, and he just left it. I mean, brilliant. Utterly brilliant. I remember joking about this in a column I wrote when this vast of a scheme first came in, and saying that would this deter anyone paying those channel people smugglers? No, because all they'll do is say, if you get sent back, we'll give you another free ride over, and I bet you anything that's what they're going to do.
I think you're right. That's what's going to happen, and it shows that the whole scheme that Starmer's put in place, he talks tough or pretends to talk tough, but actually the reality is this scheme isn't working. It's a drop in the ocean, and even those that are being sent back are now starting to return. So the whole immigration system is broken. We know that. We've been talking about it for a long time. Yep. Your channel's been talking about it for a long time, and we need something different to happen. We need to start by tackling the legal obstacles, which include obviously leaving the ECHR. But before we do that, we can't really do anything at all. And also the structure of the Home Office itself. We've now seen even the Home Secretary admitting that the Home Office is not fit for purpose. That was first said 20 years ago by John Reid when he was Home Secretary, and nothing has changed in that time. What we need to tackle illegal migration, as well as leaving the ECHR, we need a special department set up purely to focus on this, operated by people who actually believe in doing that job and are not just looking for a culture of defeatism and excuses to why.
Well, not even just defeatism. Home Office officials have been actively working against the official Home Office policy. And we do have an issue, and I know this is something that your party leader, Nigel Farage, feels very strongly about, where it's really, really very simple. It's like, these people are public servants. They are servants. The masters are the elected representatives of the people. And whether we agree with the Labour government or not, if they've been elected, they've got a majority in Parliament, they are the elected members. They are in charge, or the Tories in charge, or you guys if you get in next time. And civil servants, if you don't like it, sod off somewhere else. You do what you're told.
Absolutely, and that's a real challenge for governments of all political complexions. We thought it was a problem when the Tories were in,
Yeah.
and we thought, oh well, perhaps when a Labour government comes in, all these lefty civil servants will actually get behind them
Yeah.
and not obstruct them. Well, that doesn't seem to have changed. I think it's a cultural thing within the civil service. I think you need to have a system whereby at the top level of each department, you need to be able to do something similar to how the Americans do it. When you have a new administration, you bring in some political appointees at the top to set that tone of leadership and make sure that the organisation is then responding to and delivering the mandate of an elected government. We have elections and democracy for a reason. It's so that we have an administration can take control that has the backing of the public and what needs to be done. And if the civil service get in the way, then clearly that system isn't working. So you need those appointments to make it happen at the highest
I
level.
think we're going to be needing mass sackings. I really, really do. There's no way if you guys get in and you're, odds-on favourites to be the next government, there's no way you're going to get anything done. They did enough to stymie the Tories, who are barely trying to do anything. So I mean, that's good. There's going to have to be root and branch reform there. You'll certainly have my support for that. Let me talk to you also about where we are with. I mean, just briefly, actually, we should touch on the fact that we've got more cases. Okay, not in Britain, but in Dublin, of riots over an alleged asylum seeker assault on a 10-year-old girl living in a hotel. Now, we've had cases in the UK, cases still coming to court. We've got someone who's actually been convicted of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl and a woman. And again, we're told that if you speak out on this stuff, you're a troublemaker, you're racist, you're a bigot, you're xenophobic, blah, blah, blah. You name every single word under the sun. But the thing that never happens keeps on happening, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can understand why people are frustrated in Britain and in Ireland. I would obviously never encourage anyone to engage in acts of violence and clashes with the police. Now, I'm a big supporter of rank and file police officers who are putting their lives on the line every day to try and keep our country safe. So I certainly never want to see violence and petrol bombs being thrown, vehicles set alight, that kind of stuff. It's completely wrong. But you can understand why people are frustrated, because the political system isn't responding to those needs. And we have things like, in Essex, where obviously the Bell Hotel in Epping was the kind of trigger for a lot of the protests initially in this country, and yet Essex was an area where elections were cancelled earlier this year, and they're being talked about being cancelled for next year. So if people don't have a democratic way of expressing themselves, and by voting for their local councillors and ultimately for their local MPs and trying to get a change of government, then you can see why they're
what do you expect? Yeah, what do you expect? I mean, that's the thing, I'm with you. I would never condone any violence, but people do feel that they keep giving, voters keep voting, they keep telling their betters who think they know betters anyway, politicians, what they want, and they keep being ignored. And this is what happens when you ignore the will of the people, and it's not good, and it's not what we want. But I don't know why anyone's shocked by it. That's the thing I don't understand. Let's talk about the grooming gangs inquiry, though, because lots of pressure on Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, calling for her to go because 4 survivors have said they can't work with her. They won't join the panel, helping decide the remit, helping decide who the chair is of this inquiry into grooming gangs, because they can't work with her. They've lost trust with her. Should she go?
Well, again, this is not a surprise that we've reached this position. The government had to be dragged absolutely kicking and screaming to agree to launch a national inquiry in the first place. So there was already a huge level of distrust between the people who have been suffered absolutely horrific things through these grooming gangs, and distrust between them and the government, who's supposed to be trying to do something about it. So I can't blame them for not having trust in the minister. And if the way to get this back on track, and obviously not just the 4 survivors that have quit the panel, but also the government now seems struggling to find someone willing to chair the inquiry, because it's been left for so long and not given the highest priority and cracking on with it, then perhaps the minister responsible does need to go. The most important thing is the victims, the survivors who have suffered these unimaginable, horrific experiences at the hands of these gangs. And we need to get to the bottom of this. So it needs to happen. And if Jess Phillips needs to resign in order to make that happen, then bring on Jess Phillips' resignation.
Well, many would agree with you on that. What do you make about the accusations against Sadiq Khan? I mean, he had a clash with a Conservative London Assembly member or leader, Susan Hall, earlier in the year. Incredibly arrogant, sort of pretending not to understand the question. It's gone very viral, that exchange about London grooming gangs. We know, on the front page of the newspapers this week, that he has seen reports reports and has signed off and responded to reports as the Police and Crime Commissioner and the Mayor of London to, police, inspectorate reports talking about, problems with grooming gangs. He appears to think that there are no grooming gangs in London that we need to worry about. What are the odds of that?
Well, I was obviously at that meeting where Susan was grilling Khan earlier in the year, and his response was just utterly absurd. He pretended to not understand the question, pretended to not even understand what a grooming gang was, and he was deflecting and saying, we have county lines gangs, but we don't have grooming gangs, we don't have rape gangs in London, which is clearly nonsense. You look at a city the size of London and the makeup that it is, there is stuff that's been going on. I've been approached by a whistleblower. I can't say anything more at the moment, but who's been talking about her experiences. It's definitely been going on in London. And yes, as we saw, and I think it was the Express this week, highlighting that there are reports that the Mayor has seen and has acknowledged that he's seen that do include evidence of this happening. So for him to hide behind it, pretend it's not happening, and the way he treated Susan in that exchange was absolutely unforgivable. But that's what he's like. If there's a challenging question that he doesn't want to answer, he will always try and find a way of not answering it. We've got the next meeting with both Sadiq Khan and with Mark Rowley, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, in November. I'm sure this issue will be discussed and debated very, very vigorously. Again, I'm sure Susan will be all over it, and hopefully I will be as well.
Indeed. Just finally, yesterday, Nigel Farage, your party leader, he sat in the House of Commons spectators gallery rather than down on the green benches below, because he says he's never picked to ask a question by the Speaker. And there is a ballot system in PMQs, but basically, there's also an opportunity. You bob up and down and you indicate to the Speaker you want him to ask a question. And the Speaker has discretion to decide who gets to ask a question or not. He says, look, he's never called, and so he may as well be in the spectators' gallery if he's going to be treated as a spectator. What needs to change?
We've only got 5 MPs in Parliament, so we don't expect to get called every week. But when we're leading the opinion polls in the way that we are, we've led, I think, 145 consecutive opinion polls since the middle of April, obviously getting fantastic results in local by-elections and indeed the all-out local elections back in May. So we are a big political force. And that voice needs to be heard. But the thing that's really, I think, frustrating, Nigel, is he doesn't get a right to reply. Every time there's an exchange, Starmer will criticise reform and criticise Farage repeatedly, week after week after week, and he doesn't have the opportunity to reply to that. That's why he's frustrated, and that's why I think he should be called more often in order to have that proper exchange, because we are a big force in British politics now. Obviously, things can go down as well as up, but the way things are at the moment, we certainly need to be heard, and PMQs, it's the showpiece event every week, and there's no reason why we don't get a bigger slice of that cherry.
Alex Wilson, Reform UK, London Assembly member, thank you very much indeed. So that slight interruption, I was a bit worried there is an election day, which obviously cannot be mentioned. We have very strict rules about elections on election day, so just got in a bit of a panic there. Benedict Spence, what do you want to come back on there?
I think it's interesting, isn't it, the lack of ability of Nigel Farage as the sort of the de facto leader of the opposition, or de jure de facto.
And the Prime Minister treats him as that.
This is the thing. It's a valid criticism, actually, because you would be sitting there going, well, it's a very small party, sort of based entirely on the number of MPs. But how is it that Reform are able to literally set the agenda in this country, but the leader is not able to sort of ask, given the basic courtesy that's given to other party leaders on the same scale? And this is, I suppose, a bit of a problem with our system, which is that you can be leading the polls, have almost twice as much at one point as the actual government, and you're still hamstrung by these rules.
And then not be allowed in a leaders' debate, for instance, on television, because it's based on your, there are lots of different rules. I mean, the rules will be, it's going to be very complicated. And of course, we've got the establishment deciding those rules, but, Sir Lindsay Hoyle is, he's a Labour MP who's now independent as the Speaker, but he has a lot of discretion. It seems to me there does seem to need to be a meeting about that, because it's supposed to be representing the people, and if that is where the people are now, that's it. 10:50 is the time. Take a quick break. Going to get to your calls. Have your say on grooming gangs, the one in, one out, failure, you name it. Give us a call. 0344 499 1000.